So I originally posted a variation of this idea to the piggybacker side of things. Oh, what's the piggybacker side of things? It's where you get access to a whole bunch of tutorials that I don't post anywhere else for about $1 a month. Now this is different to the PigCake Magic Academy, which is $5 a month, which is, by the way, still the price of a White Claw, where you get access to more detailed tutorials going over stuff that's designed from beginner all the way to expert level stuff. The piggybacker side is just tutorials that I don't happen to post anywhere else. And you can see the running list of things that I have here that you get access to the moment you sign up. So make sure to check that out by looking at the link in the description section below. I bet you wanted to know what they look like. My feet. That's right, I'm aware that statistically, you're probably into feet because you're a magician. So here's a trick. We take a deck of cards and mix it. Oh look, here, we happen to use the missing piece deck of cards, which is coming out soon on Kickstarter. You get it? It's the missing piece of the logo. The logo had a missing piece of cake, and it's there on the back of the playing cards that you're gonna buy. And for this, we're gonna use a couple cards at random. In this case, this 8 and a 7, and we're also going to need a participant to pick a card. Let's say they pick the King of Clubs with what looks like to be an ink stain on it, probably because I put this deck on the NDA that I had your mom sign. Of course, the king goes in the middle of the deck, never to be seen ever again by human eyes. Of course, it's not going to matter because that's where these cards come into play. You see, we're going to take these cards and we're actually going to use them to find your card. Watch. Right here. Here's all it takes. We just dribble the cards and that's it. That's it. That's all it takes. Because if we spread the cards, believe it or not, when we get to the actual card itself, right there, the King of Clubs with one card between it, your card. You remember that awful trick when you were a kid where you would take two cards, put it in the middle of the deck, and then, look, find them again? Guess what? It's the same exact trick. It's the same thing. It's like a hot dog bun and a piece of bread. Just fold the bread and you have a hot dog bun. There are so many good tricks you could do with the twins principle that I teach on the PigCake Magic Academy. You should check it out. And it's a very underrated thing. All we have is, in this case, 2 red 8s and 2 red 7s. All you have to do is just swap them out. So in this case, look, I have a 7 of hearts with an 8 of diamonds, and I have an 8 of hearts with a 7 of diamonds. Participants have a hard time enough to remember basic hygiene. If there's somebody that are willing to subject themselves to a magic trick performed by you, you think they're gonna remember the actual cards? They're dumb, they're troglodytes, their parents are related. So this is a principle you could rely on because they're not gonna remember. And they start off on top. So in this case, we place the cards on top of the deck and we're good to go. You're gonna take your very favorite leather stool and you're gonna start by giving the deck a false cut. Or you could shuffle the deck for real, just shuffling the bottom cards. You see that? I'm shuffling the bottom cards, keeping those cards still on top. Now at this point, I just take the 2 random cards from the top of the deck. Guess what? They're not random. And I say, we're going to use this later on. But for now, I need for you to pick a card. And in this case, let's say pick, oh look, the King of Clubs. Now at this point, you're going to do what's known as the depth illusion. The depth illusion, which means that I just get my pinky, place it underneath this card. And you see this card, instead of going in the middle of the deck like you thought it did, it goes in this gap. And that is conveniently the gap between both the cards that you're going to end up finding this later on. Now that's a little bit more of a complicated way of doing it. If you want a simpler way of doing it, here's how. Instead of setting up the cards this way, what you do is that you take one of the cards, in this case the third one from the top, and you place it on the bottom. Now, you're going to give the deck a false cut. You're not going to shuffle it, but you're going to start the routine as before. So now we have these 2 cards that we show to the participants. They select a card, and all you have to do at this point is just take this card, put it on top, and give the deck 1 cut. In giving the deck a cut, that's going to place that card between your 2 cards. Because this card's on the bottom, this card is directly underneath their card. So in giving the cards a cut, that places their card in the middle of the deck, right there, between the 7 and the 8. So that's a nice alternative to those of you guys that don't necessarily want to work. Now, when you cut the cards, you want to cut a little bit thin. So notice that I have only about 15 cards, and I'm cutting that because I want their card and the other 2 cards to be somewhere near the bottom. Because in a moment, I'm going to shove these cards near the top, and I don't want cross-contamination. I don't want them crossing streams, just going in there like you're sharing the toilet with your uncle. And here what you're going to do is you're going to take these 2 cards, you're going to turn them face down. Again, I've never called specific attention to the individual cards. I haven't said 8 of hearts, 7 of diamonds. I've just said we're going to use the, in this case, the red 8s and the 7, and we proceed from there. We're going to just dribble the cards on the table. We're going to dribble them dropping them on the table, and we're going to shove the cards near the top of the deck. That's all we're doing here. So once we get to a couple cards left, we're just going to shove those cards in there and square everything up. Now at speed, it just looks like this, like that. It looks like you just randomly shove those cards somewhere in the deck. But we're going to be able to spread the cards at this point and show that their card is actually between the 7 and the 8. So we managed to shoot those cards in the deck and have their card land between it. Or in this case, capture their card between the 7 and the 8. In other words, you're lying. You're lying through your teeth, as we all do with magic. You're hitting them in the face with a farce, something that isn't actually reality. Do you know that if you reverse a stool, you have 4 progressive seats? You know that? It's a joke told to me by my one of my old cohorts. Believe it or not, I had a real job once. If you don't get it, you're too young. And if you're too young, what are you doing watching this? You should do something that's going to be productive with your time. Like, I don't know, watching workout videos. I used to think that when I was younger, this is the advice portion of the video, by the way, but I thought when I was younger and you would exercise, it would stunt your growth. That's a myth. That's not a real thing. You could work out. What you can't do necessarily is stuff that's going to maybe compress your spine. That's the bit that I've heard. You don't want to do those as much. It's not like you want to avoid them, but you don't want to do them as much. But still, hit the weights, do the curls, right? Do the whatever the fucks, the bench presses. What are you out here wasting your time? Not working out with your young? You're wasting the best times of your life to work out because you're going to keep those gains. You're going to keep that lifestyle up. Whereas you get the freshman 15 that all girls go through and they end up blowing up. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want to be the opposite of that. You want to get the freshman 15th in terms of gains. And by gains, I mean muscular growth. So that's the advice.
I see you again. When 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 I see